Let's first understand the implied conditions. The first condition, implied condition, is condition as to title. Second is sale by sample. We'll do these in detail. Let us first run through all the implied conditions. The first is condition as to title. Second is sale by sample. Third is sale by description. Fourth is sale by both sample and description. Fifth is condition as to merchantable quality. Sixth is condition as to wholesomeness. Seventh is condition as to quality or fitness for particular purpose. So now let's take these one by one and understand them in detail. So first, condition as to title. Now what does this implied condition as to title say? The condition as to title says that the seller has the right to title. He is the sole owner of the goods. His title regarding the goods is clear. Goods are not such that he's found them or he's robbed someone or possibly he's got the goods from somewhere, or he only has the right to sell half of the goods. His right to sell the goods should be complete. He should be the complete owner of the goods. His title to the goods, his ownership to the goods cannot be disputed. He should be the sole seller. And once he is the sole seller, he has the title to the goods. He can do with the goods whatever he wants. So if he wants to sell them, he can always do it. Since he has the title to the goods, he can pass on a good title ahead. But if he does not have the title, can he pass the title? No, he cannot. We have learned the Latin maxim which says nemo dat quod non habet, which means one who does not have cannot give it to others. So if you do not have the ownership of the goods, can you give it to others? No, you cannot. Now let's say this pen belongs to me. Now I left it at your home and you sell this pen. Will you be able to pass on a good title to the buyer? No, because you do not have the ownership. So once at first place, when you yourself do not have the ownership, how can you give the ownership to somebody else? You cannot. So the condition as to title says that the seller should have the title, the ownership to the goods, and it should be undisputable. Okay, he should have the complete title. So in case of existing goods, he has the right to sell if he has the title. In case of future goods, when the goods come into existence, he'll have the right to sell. He will have the right to sell. Let's say if now the seller does not have the right to sell. I left this pen at your place and you sold it for 100 rupees to your friend. Now, what can I do, or what can the buyer do? Now, since the buyer does not get the ownership, you did not have the ownership, so you cannot transfer the ownership. Since he does not have the ownership lies with me. I get the right to recover the goods, and the seller gets the right to recover the money from you. Okay, so he'll have to return the goods to you, you'll have to return the goods to me, and he will also have the right to get the price of the goods that he has paid to you from you. You'll have to return the price to him. Okay, this is the condition as to title. Next, sale by sample. Now, what is sale by sample? You would have seen many times, salesmen come and show you a sample. It's a small sample. Let's say they come to sell a detergent or some cleaner or anything of that sort. So they bring a small bottle of a sample, or possibly when you go to malls, many times you have testers there. Those are the samples. Or when you go to purchase grains like wheat, rice, so the shopkeeper there keeps the samples. So you see, you touch all the samples and then you decide which one to buy. So those are the samples. Now what do you mean by samples? Sample is a part of the bulk. The quantity that he has in the go down, he takes out a sample from that only. So it is a part of the bulk, the major of the goods, the majority of the goods. So in all sanity, we can say that sample will always correspond to the bulk, right? Sample should correspond to the bulk. If the sample, let's say, is white in color of rice and the bulk is a bit yellowish, can we say the sample is corresponding to the bulk? No, we cannot say. We make the contract on the basis of the sample, and if it does not match the bulk, we can always cancel the contract. It is a condition. We are studying conditions. It's an implied condition that sample should correspond to the bulk. Now, if it does not correspond, the condition has gotten breached here. So once the condition is breached, you get the right to return the goods and claim damages. So, what does the implied condition in sale by sample say? The bulk should be as per the sample, that is, the bulk should correspond to the sample. Okay. Next, the buyer should get an opportunity to compare. Let's say you go to purchase rice, you see the sample of it and you make a contract, and then the shopkeeper delivers the rice at your place. There he needs to give you an opportunity to check that does the bulk that he has sent you, does it correspond to the thing that he had ordered? So he'll have to let you check. Okay. And the third condition is there is no latent defect. Now latent means what? Latent means hidden. There should be no hidden defect. Now because you are getting an opportunity to check, so any visible or superficial defect you'll be able to catch. But let's say the defect is latent, it is hidden, it is not on the outer surface, it is in the inside. Then what? That means you've got defective goods. And if you've got defective goods, you can always return them. So there should be no latent defect. So latent defect is what? That is, the goods should be free from all defects which make the product unsaleable. Such defects should not be discovered by ordinary examination. Look, you are getting the right to examine the goods. So by ordinary examination, if you are able to find them, you can return the goods. By ordinary examination, if you are not able to find the defects, yet there are some hidden defects inside, we call them latent defects. Latent defects are those defects which cannot be found out by ordinary examination. So if there are latent defects, then also you can return the goods. So in short, the bulk should correspond with the sample. Next, sale by description. Now, we all use cell phones. What we do is, many a times this happens that we go to the shop to purchase the cell phones, and he gives us a description of the cell phone that uh, it has a 5-inch screen, it has 1 GHz quad core processor, 1 GB RAM, all the features. So now what is he doing? He's describing the product, that this is the color of the product, it has a metallic body, it has a plastic body. He's going on describing the product. Okay, so he describes the product, you purchase the phone, and when you open the phone, you see that it is only 3.5 inches phone. The screen is 3.5 inches. Now, what will you do? Do you get the right to return the goods? Yes, you get the right to return the goods. Why? Because the law has implied a condition on the seller that whenever you sell it by description, the goods should be as per the description. That means the goods should correspond to the description. The goods should correspond to the description. You tell him that the phone is black in color, but when he opens it, it turns out that it is white in color, not as per description. You tell him that it has 1 GB RAM. When he opens, he finds out that it has only 512 MB RAM, not as per description. You tell him that it has a metallic finish, it has a metallic body. When he opens the case, he finds out that it has a plastic body, not as per description. So in whatever way you describe the goods should correspond to the description. And if the goods do not correspond to the description, that is, they are not same as the description, in that case, the buyer gets the right to return the goods, to cancel the contract. Because we are studying conditions here, and if the conditions are breached, you straight away get the right to repudiate the contract, to resign the contract, to cancel the contract, to terminate the contract. In this point, the conditions that we've done under sale by sample, they come here also. That is, the buyer should get a right to examine the goods, and the goods should be free from latent defect. The goods should not have hidden defects. Okay. The next is sale by sample as well as description. You show the sample also and you describe the goods also. Okay, you go to purchase the phone. He shows you a sample of the good. He shows you a sample phone, and he is going on describing it also. The sample is black in color, but the actual product is white in color. He tells you, and then in the sample you have metallic body. You can touch and see that it has metallic body. In the sample, you can see that it has 5-inch screen. In the sample, you can see that it has an outer case for protection. It has a screen guard as well. So when he gives you the sample, you can see all those things. At the same time, he is going on describing the phone also. He tells you it has a 16 million color screen, it has 322 pixels per inch, it has 1 GB RAM, it has 1 GHz quad-core processor, all those stuff. But when you actually purchase the phone and you open it, you find out that the phone does not. It corresponds to all the other things, but it does not correspond to the description that he had given about RAM. It has only 512 MB RAM. So what can you do in that case? Can you return the goods? Because it is, as per the other description given, as per the sample which was shown. So all the other things are satisfied except for the RAM. Even if one thing is different, you get the right to repudiate the contract, you get the right to cancel the contract, you get the right to return the goods. Since in this case it will be considered as the goods were not as per the description. Now let's take the second case. The goods, the phone that he showed you is completely as per the description, but it's not as per the sample. In the sample you saw it has metallic body, but when you open the phone you saw that it has plastic body. Not as per sample. It is completely as per description, but not as per sample. Now what can you do? Do you have the right to return the good? Yes, you have the right to return the goods, because it will be considered as goods not being as per sample. The bulk is not corresponding with the sample. So when the goods are sold by description as well as sample at the same time, the goods should correspond with both. If the good is corresponding with one, the condition is breached. If the good is corresponding with neither, you can always return the goods. However, even if, let's say the goods are not in confirmation with the description, they only confirm with the sample. In this case, you can return the goods as well. However, only if the goods are confirming with both, that is, sample as well as description. Goods are in correspondence with sample as well as description. Only in that case, we can say that there is a proper sale and the condition has been satisfied. So let's see. When there's a sale by sample as well as description, the goods should be as per sample and description. The important word here is and. It is not or here. So both have to correspond with the goods, description and sample. The goods should correspond to sample and description. Now examples are given. The goods correspond only to sample but not to description. The contract is void. You can always cancel the contract. The goods correspond only to description but not to sample. Again, the contract is void. The contract will be valid only in the case when goods correspond to both. The next condition is implied condition as to merchantable quality. Now, what do you mean by merchantable quality? Merchantable quality means that you can sell the goods. They should be in proper condition. They should suffice the purpose. Merchantable quality means the goods are working properly, they are in the deliverable state. And if the goods are not in merchantable quality and yet you've sold them, you've delivered them, then in that case, the buyer, who is the aggrieved party here, can return the goods, that is, he can repudiate the contract. Let's see. Merchantable quality means such quality and condition of goods that a man of ordinary prudence may put it to use. Can use such goods can use them. A man of ordinary prudence. Ordinary prudence means ordinary rationality, ordinary judgment, experience, skill. He can use them. What are the conditions that need to be followed? The goods are free from latent defect. This is a common point, common with many points here. The goods are marketable at full value. Now, when the goods are in working condition, they'll be marketable at full value. Now, the example here is given that a watch is late by 5 minutes in every hour. Every hour the watch is late by 5 minutes. Will you purchase such a watch? No, you will not. And even if you do, you will not purchase it at market value, isn't it? Let's say you purchase a phone such that the screen of the phone does not, it does not give any display at one corner. Will you purchase that phone? Firstly, you might not purchase it. And secondly, even if you purchase it, you will not purchase it at full value. So the good does not become of mercantile quality here. Okay, such a phone, such a watch is not of mercantile quality. Next is that the goods can be used for the purpose for which they are bought by prudent persons. It should satisfy the purpose. You're purchasing a watch to see time, so the watch should be able to show you correct time. It should satisfy the purpose. If it is late by 5 minutes every hour, it cannot be used. If the phone does not give you display, it cannot be used. It is not of mercantile quality. So this is considered as a condition. It is an implied condition that the goods should be of mercantile quality. If this condition is breached, you can cancel the contract. Next is implied condition as to wholesomeness. What is wholesomeness? Wholesomeness means they should be complete, and the goods should be free for human consumption. I mean, not free in terms of cost, but free in terms of defects or potency. I mean, the goods should be ripe, the goods should not be contaminated, the goods should not be spilt or spoiled or soiled. For example, when you go to purchase a milk, it should not be spilt. You cannot consume spilt milk. If you go to purchase water, the water should not be contaminated. If you go to purchase oranges, the oranges should not be overripe. They should be just ripe so that you can consume them. Are you getting my point? This point is usually connected with the goods that you can consume, that you can eat, like fruits, vegetables, milk, butter, water. These are the goods that you can consume, physically consume. So the objective of this point is to make the wholesomeness of goods a condition, an important stipulation in the sale contract, because this can be very dangerous. It can turn out to be fatal. It can lead you to food poisoning, and thereby possibly you may die. So this is very important that the food that you are consuming is safe. So with this objective, wholesomeness has been made as an implied condition. And if the goods are not wholesome, that is, you purchased milk which is spilled, you can always return them. Return the goods, return the milk. That is, you can cancel the contract. If the oranges are overripe, you get the right to return them, cancel the contract. The last implied condition is condition as to quality or fitness of purpose or use. That means for whatever purpose the goods have been purchased, they satisfy that use. Now, we've already done a point which says that the goods should be of merchantable quality. Then why this point? This point comes into picture because, in this case, the buyer goes to the seller, tells him that he wants certain goods which satisfy a purpose. He tells him the purpose, and depending on the judgment of the seller, the skill and experience of the seller, he purchases the goods on his recommendation. I'll give you an example. There's a marriage that's taking place in your house. So, you go to the tailor and tell him that you want a suit that you can wear for reception. Normally, we wear formal clothes suits for reception. And he stitches you a sherwani for reception. Now, will it satisfy the purpose? Because you went to him, you told him you want something that you could wear for reception, and you relied on his judgment, you relied on his skill, experience, talent, and he stitched you a sherwani. Now, does that sherwani satisfy the purpose? No, it doesn't, because you wanted a suit. A suit should have been ideal for a reception. However, it was wedding. If it was wedding, the regular Hindu style wedding, then traditional clothes like sherwani or bandgala or any of the traditional wear dhoti, they would have sufficed. So, in this case, the buyer informs the purpose to the seller and then he relies on his judgment. So, when the buyer is relying on the seller, he's told him the purpose, he's relying on him, then the purpose should get justified. It is the duty of the seller to see to it that the goods that he recommends, which the buyer will purchase on his recommendation, they should be good for the purpose. They should be fit for the purpose. And thus we have quality or fitness of purpose. So the conditions are: first, the buyer has informed the seller about the specific purpose. The seller has been dealing in that specified good. And third, buyer has relied upon the seller. Now you went to the tailor, he has been dealing in the goods since long. He has a lot of experience. You told him the purpose. And then you relied upon him. So when these conditions are satisfied and the goods do not, they are not fit for the purpose, then you can repudiate the contract, you can cancel the contract. Okay. So these were the implied conditions that we had to study. These conditions have been, compulsorily put on the seller to follow by the law. So seller has to follow these conditions.